Hello everyone, I hope you all are doing good. In this video, I would cover the current affairs from 18th to 24th of July. Students, 15th President of India, Draupadi Murmu. Draupadi Murmu has been elected as the 15th President of India. The 2022 Indian presidential election, it was the 16th presidential election. It was held on the 18th of July, and Murmu became India's first women tribal president. So basically, ma'am is a tribal, and she becomes India's first woman tribal president, students. She also becomes the second woman to hold the post after Pratibha Patil. That means she's the only second woman to become the president of the country. And the tenure of the incumbent president, Ramnath Kovind, ended on the 24th of July, students. Some very interesting points about Draupadi Murmu. The 64-year-old Murmu was born in Odisha's Mayurbhanj district to a family belonging to the Santhal tribe students. There could be a question, which tribe does she belong to? Santhal tribe students. Santhal, also known as Santals, it is third largest scheduled tribe community in India after Gonds and Bhil students. And their population is mostly distributed in Odisha, Jharkhand, and West Bengal. Murmu is the second person belonging to a scheduled tribe to be nominated and to become the president of India. And she served as the 9th governor of Jharkhand from 2015 to 2021. And as a member of BJP, she was elected to the state assembly twice, students, from the Rairangpur seat. Next, students, Los Angeles to host 2028 Summer Olympic Games. So the 2028 Summer Olympic and Paralympic Games will be hosted in Los Angeles, students, United States. And in the past, Los Angeles has hosted the Olympics in 1984 and 1932, students. The Paralympic Games will begin in Los Angeles on 15th August 2028 and end on August 27. And this will be the first time that Los Angeles will be hosting the Paralympic Games, students. So even though the Summer Olympics have happened there in the past, this is the first time it will be hosting the Paralympic Games, students. Just to bring to your notice, to bring to your attention, that 2024 Summer Olympic Games will be held in Paris, France, students. So the last Olympics were held in Tokyo, 2024 in Paris, and 2028 in Los Angeles, students. Both Summer Olympics and Paralympics will be held in Los Angeles. Moving on very quickly, India reaches a milestone of 200 crore vaccinations for COVID-19, students. So India has crossed the 200 crore milestone in its cumulative COVID-19 vaccination campaign, which is a historic accomplishment, students. And preliminary reports indicate that these many dosages, that's a very huge number for 2 crore plus dosages, had been given nationwide, students. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi has described the immunization campaign as unparalleled in magnitude. That means no other country has been able to reach this milestone ever. And so this is unparalleled for its magnitude and its rapidity. So not just the numbers, but the pace at which the entire immunization program was rolled out. And Dr. Mansukh Mandavia, students, Minister of Health for Union, you should please keep this name in mind, the Health Minister. His name is Dr. Mansukh Mandavia, students. He praised the nation for reaching this milestone in just 18 months. Only in a time span of 18 months, students, India was able to cover 2,000 crore plus vaccinations. And this is a tremendous accomplishment. So students, some of the main features, main points of this. So India began using cutting edge technologies like CoWIN, students, for evaluating geographical coverage. So they made use of this software, this website CoWIN, to evaluate the geographical coverage, to track AEFI for vaccines, promoting inclusivity, and for providing a single reference point for citizens to follow their vaccination schedule. So the government had put in place this website and was keeping a track, and was also, it provided this one single window for all the queries related to the vaccination. So basically, technology and digital technology was primarily made use of to make this whole campaign successful. India also prioritized vaccination administration based on scientific evidence and international best practices, students. So India made use of some of the best practices when it came to immunization. And these were part of countries' Make in India and Make for World strategy, that you make in India and you make for world. So our immunization program was largely indigenous students. The vaccines used were indigenous. And utilizing and strengthening the already existing supply chain for COVID-19 vaccine, the storage and delivery, efficient usage of vaccine and syringes, effective monitoring of vaccine distribution, all of this was achieved, students. So supply chain logistics, students, is has been very commendable part of it. Some of the schemes that were carried out, students: Har Ghar Dastak, workplace CVC, school-based vaccination, immunization of people without identity documents, near-to-home CVC, and mobile vaccination teams. That means where people were, particularly sick people who were not able to visit the vaccination centers, there were mobile vaccination teams that went from home to home, identifying such, candidates and immunize them. So all these schemes were part of India's free and world voluntary nationwide COVID-19 vaccination exercise. Students, the national COVID-19 vaccination, this is very noteworthy, has also been able to achieve geographic and gender parity, students. So there was, gender, you can say gender parity in terms of the coverage. And 71% of CVCs, that means the vaccination centers, were situated in rural regions, and over 51% of vaccine doses given to women students. That means there was geographical parity. All the regions were uniformly covered. There was a rural-urban parity as well as the gender parity. Next, students, successful testing of India's first 5G private network announced by Bharti Airtel. So the nation's first 5G private network was successfully tested by Bharti Airtel at Bosch Automotive Electronics plant in Bengaluru, students. And the trials occur in advance of a 5G spectrum auction in midst of a conflict between telecom and IT firms over the allocation of airwaves for private network. So we all know, students, that 5G spectrum auction is due, and there's some controversy, some conflict between telecom and IT firms over the allocation of airwaves, students. So that's the reason why it has been delayed. And using the government allocated trial spectrum, Airtel deployed 2 industrial grade use cases at Bosch facility. So that means the first 5G private network in India has been installed at the Bosch electronics plant in Bengaluru, students. And Bharti Airtel is the provider. Next, students, INS Sindhudhwaj decommissioned after 35 years of service. So INS Sindhudhwaj has decommissioned after 35 years of glorious service to the nation. It was commissioned into the Navy in 1987, and it was one of the submarines India acquired from Russia between 1986 and 2000. And it is the only submarine to be awarded the Chief Naval Staff Rolling Trophy for Innovation by PM Modi, students. Next, Ranil Wickramasinghe elected as the 9th president, student. So veteran Sri Lankan politician and 6-time Prime Minister Ranil Wickramasinghe has been elected as the 9th president of the island nation by the parliament. And he would serve the remaining term of former president Gotabaya Rajapaksa. So there could be a question: who was the ex-president Gotabaya Rajapaksa, and who's the president? Who is the present president? The new president, Ranil Wickramasinghe, students. And Wickramasinghe will replace Rajapaksa, who fled the country and resigned after public anger over the country's worst economic crisis exploded on the street 10 days ago. Next, students, Henley Passport Index 2022, India ranks 87th. So there's something called Henley Passport Index, which was recently released. And it released it is basically an index of the world's most powerful passport, students. And 3 Asian nations, Japan, Singapore, and South Korea, bagged the top 3 positions on the list. And India has ranked 87th, students. And basically, it is noteworthy here that this index, it basically takes into consideration how easy or difficult is it to acquire the passport of a particular country, and accordingly it lists the country in the index. So India's neighboring country, Pakistan, reportedly has the fourth worst passport in the world. Japanese passport provides hassle-free entry to 193 countries, and that's the reason why Japanese passport has been declared as the most powerful passport, students, because it provides hassle-free entry to 193 countries. While Singapore and South Korea provides entry to 192 countries. That means there are no elaborate and very complex, complicated, detailed documentation or visa requirements required for these country students. So the entry to these countries is majorly hassle-free, and that's the reason why the passport has been declared most powerful. So the ranks of various other countries, particularly our neighbors like Bangladesh and Pakistan, has been shared, students, here on the slide. And Pakistan has the fourth worst passport in the world after Afghanistan, Iraq, and Syria. Next, students, Dinesh Gunawardene has been sworn in as the 15th Prime Minister of Sri Lanka, students. So Dinesh Gunawardene, students, keep the name in mind. I just told you that President Ranil Wickremesinghe has been appointed as the new president, and Dinesh Gunawardene has been appointed as the new and the 15th Prime Minister, students, right? So Ranil Wickremesinghe basically was the Prime Minister who has now taken up the position of, who has now been sworn in as the president. So the Prime Minister position basically became vacant, and this position has been filled by Dinesh Gunawardene. So he's a parliamentarian of the Sri Lanka Pudujana Peramuna Party, SLPP, students, and he took his oath in the capital, Colombo. So what is the capital of Sri Lanka? Colombo, students. Niti Aayog, students, India's R&D expenditure is one of the lowest worldwide. So according to a report released by Niti Aayog, our think tank, students, the Institute of Competitiveness, which comes under Niti Aayog, it has released this report, according to which India has the lowest R&D expenditure worldwide, students. So we don't spend enough. In fact, our expenditure is lowest when it comes to R&D, which is so very important to fight the various challenges, particularly the socio-economic challenges that we face as a country. However, our R&D expenditure is the lowest in the world, and it has been decreasing, students, falling from 0.8% of GDP in 2008-9 to 0.7% in 2017-18. So our R&D expenditure is on a decline, students. It has been decreasing over the years. And India has the lowest GERD, students, gross expenditure in research and development, and it is lower than the other BRIC countries. So here, countries like Brazil, Russia, China, South Africa, they're spending in certain cases at least 1% to 2% of their GDP on R&D. United States, Sweden, and Switzerland, they are developed nations, and of course have very high R&D expenditure to the tune of 2.9, 3.2, 3.4% respectively. And the biggest R&D expenditure per GDP is made by Israel, students, which is 4.5%. So please keep it in mind, a small country as Israel makes the maximum expenditure in R&D, which is almost about 5% of GDP, which is like huge, students. The fact that the expenditure in R&D takes time to yield benefits, it is one of the explanations given for the low spending on R&D in emerging nations like India. So basically, when quipped as to why India has such a low expenditure in R&D, the reply that has come from the official sources is that, R&D takes, any expenditure in R&D takes time to show effect. That means it's more like a long-term investment with a very high gestation period. But India is a developing country with many people still below the poverty line. So India has some immediate priorities, very urgent priorities to be met. And therefore, the expenditure or R&D is less. Maybe they're pointing at education and health and other crucial social infrastructure areas that require urgent attention and investment. And that's the reason why R&D expenditure has been kept low, consciously has been kept low. Then, the report also mentions something called the brain drain phenomena, that the low expenditure in R&D is leading to brain drain phenomena, which is further fueling, it. So people relocate to another region, state, or nation in search of better prospect due to lower R&D funding and less inventing opportunity students. And this phenomena is known as brain drain phenomena. So basically, the talent, the human resources, the brain within the mind, within the country students, the intellect within the country, the talent within the country that chooses to relocate to other countries where there is high R&D expenditure. And brain drain is a phenomena that weakens a state's competitive advantage and has a negative influence on the economy of the entire country, students. And of course, so India and declining research output. So because of low R&D investment, students, our research output is also decreasing, students. And it says that India's GRD needs to significantly improve and reach at least 2% in order for the country to reach its aim of having $5 trillion GDP. So we all know India aims to become $5 trillion GDP soon. So India will have to double up its R&D expenditure to reach this milestone. And India has one of the lowest rates of GERD worldwide, which comes to a minuscule $43 per person. And India performs far worse than the other BRICS and ASEAN countries, let alone the developed countries. So there's also seems to be a disconnect between what is taught at the university level and what is needed in the workplace, students. Next, students, if we talk about the India Innovation Index 2021, Karnataka, Manipur, and Chandigarh have topped, students. So, students, there's something called India Innovation Index, which is prepared by Niti Aayog and the Institute for Competitiveness. And this is a comprehensive tool for the evaluation and development of the country's innovation system. So basically, this is to strengthen the innovation ecosystem of the country. And with a view towards this index ranks the states and the union territories on their innovation performance to build healthy competition amongst them. So basically, students, this innovation index ranks the various states and union territories in terms of their innovation ecosystem, in terms of their competitiveness, so as to encourage healthy competition among them, right? And this is based on the innovation landscape and performance of the country, states, and union territories. And this has been mapped from the Global Innovation Index. So we have something called Global Innovation Index, which is published annually by WIPO, students, World Intellectual Property Organization. So this is modeled on the same index, students. So basically, the various parameters or the pillars that it takes into consideration: human capital, how are states performing in terms of human capital? How is their investment in innovation in terms of knowledge workers? How is the business environment in the states? How is the safety and legal environment? What is the knowledge output? How is the knowledge diffusion? So these are the various things that are considered before tabulating it. And Karnataka, Manipur, and Chandigarh have topped the third edition. So Karnataka is number one among the states, larger states. Manipur is number one among the smaller states, and Chandigarh is number one among the union territories, students. And this was released by Niti Aayog Vice Chairman Suman Berry. Keep the name in mind. Vice Chairman of Niti Aayog, Suman Berry, students. Next, students, Prime Minister Narendra Modi unveils India's first passenger drone, Varun. So, students, keep the name in mind. India's first passenger drone, Varun, students, right? And Prime Minister Narendra Modi asserted that his government has been making use of drones for last mile delivery of services. We all are aware how drones were put to much use during the COVID-19 pandemic also. So it is used for last mile delivery of services, particularly to the remotest of the places in the country. And the makers of this indigenous is that it is made domestically by an Indian company, and it is, of course, it's a drone, it's pilotless. So it has been made by Sagar Defense Engineering students, right? And it has the capacity to carry one person inside. And Varun, India's first drone that can carry a human payload, has a range of 25 kilometers, and the drone can carry 130 kg payload and has 25 to 33 minutes of flight time. Next, students, Neeraj Chopra makes us proud again. He wins a silver medal in the javelin at the World Championship, students. So Neeraj Chopra makes history by winning silver in the World Athletic Championship for the first time ever. With a throw of 88.13 meters, Neeraj Chopra, 24, who entered the competition as a heavy favorite, won the medal. And next, students, the center modifies the Flag Code of India 2002 to permit tricolour to be displayed constantly. So, students, basically, there's something called the Flag Code of India 2002, which is a set of various rules and conventions related to the flag, related to the use, the display, and the hoisting of the flag. Students, it guides the citizens as to how they can carry out all these activities. So it was revised by the Ministry of Home Affairs to permit the flying of the national flag even at night as the federal government begins its Har Ghar Tiranga campaign, students. So basically, they have revised the Flag Code of India. Earlier, students, the flag could only be flown between the sunrise and the dusk. But now, according to this new revision, the flag could also be flown during the night, students. So the Flag Code of India has been hoisted, and this also marks the beginning of the Har Ghar Tiranga campaign, students. So the federal government, the central government has launched something called the Har Ghar Tiranga campaign. Previously, also, students, the government had made changes to the flag code wherein they have now allowed the use of polyester and machine-made flags. And the government amended paragraph 1.2 of part 1 of the flag code for this. And this is basically, students, a part of the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. We all know India is celebrating its 75 years of independence, right? And this entire celebration, it is known as Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. And Har Ghar Tiranga campaign is also part of this, students. So from August 13 to August 15, the government will carry out the Har Ghar Tiranga campaign, which will urge people to fly the flag in their residences. And now they can fly it during the night also. So that's all for this video, students. I will see you very soon with another video on current affairs. Thank you so much.